But Jim, I do think it is the big question. Are we on the cusp of a substantial correction or not? You look at what happened yesterday. We had Jonathan Krinsky on. We like to track him because he knows the technicals as well as anybody, okay? He said he thinks we might be, and not to buy the dip. Let's listen to what he said, and I want your reaction on the other side. Here's Krinsky yesterday with us.
We're seeing the weak areas of the market remain weak and even get weaker. So we're talking about, the K-Web, China Tech, the ARC funds, the SPAC. So those are areas of the market that, typically have seen decent rotations, throughout the year. But the last few weeks and even the last couple of months, really, they're just not responding to the upside like they have in the past.
Is that an issue? The small caps, he points out, have been weak. The semis, and we'll go through some of the data. What do you think?
The semi's making a stand here, I think, and NVIDIA obviously is now the most important semi, and we'll hear from them. Taiwan Semi, by the way, not in America, it is now the largest Asian company. Look, there's this guy. He works for Illumina and Pfizer. He's not really an analyst.
Dr. Gottlieb.
But he's talking about a peak in Delta, and he's not talking about DAL. And I want to know, you want to be short, a big short, ahead of a peak? How right, as opposed to the CDC and the FDA, has Dr. Scott Gottlieb been? I think that if you came in short ahead of a peak of Delta, you're going to be wish that you were on the wing of Delta in that famous twilight zone, hanging on by your fingernails. So I don't want to short it here. I want to buy the dip because I bet on Gottlieb, who, by the way, is on the boards of Pfizer and Illumina. Because you have to say that, apparently.
He does, and for good reason. So you like Tom Lee, then. We still want to, quote-unquote, lean in on this weakness even harder after Tuesday's sell-off. UBS says we believe upside remains for the markets. They think cyclical parts of the market, including energy and financials, are likely to lead the next leg of the rally.
Well, I'm not sure about energy because there are secondary issues there. One is OPEC plus not so good, but I still think people have to be thinking about Venezuela. If they come back online, you do not want to own oil. Maybe Tom Lee's piece is being referred as buy anything in the world, including the kitchen sink, and it doesn't seem fair to me.
Mr. Everything Rally.
Well, I know, but does he really want that? I mean, I got Mr. Wonderful, now I got Mr. Everything. I got too many misters.
Steph, what do you think about this notion of being on the cusp of a correction? Krinsky says, don't buy the dip. It was a powerful note that was out yesterday, and the market seemed to go weaker on it when he came on to discuss it. But then you have the Tom Lees and the UBSs of the world and others, and Jim, who's defending this market.
Yeah, and I'm defending the market as well, and I have been for a while. And I point to the liquidity and how much there still is in the system. I know it's not as much as it was, but it's a lot. Excuse me, it's a lot, and we're getting more likely in terms of the infrastructure bill. I don't know the size of that, but we're getting more. The Fed is not going to do anything other than talk about tapering, and then maybe they taper, but they're not going to be increasing rates. So rates probably stay around 1.5%, 2%. That's really positive for corporations. That's really positive for the consumer. We've got to get through Delta. And we will. I have no idea the timing of that, but we will. And yes, Dr. Scott Gottlieb is the person that I pay attention to. But
some
I also
say it's
look
this
at
weekend.
The UK trend.
Some say it could peak this weekend.
Well, I know some. Well, you know what? My portfolio is all about Delta peaking, quite frankly, right? I don't know the timing of that, though. I can just speak to the stocks getting hammered in terms of the reopen names. And so that's where I find the most value, quite frankly, in the market. But we have to get through Delta first. Then we have to get through seasonality because August and September are really crummy months for the markets. So we've got to make a shopping list. And as I say, the reopen names are the ones I like. Why do I really want to stay involved? Not only is it liquidity, but it's the economy is actually fine. It's strong, both consumer and manufacturing, and earnings are strong.
Okay.
They're not going to be as strong, but it's going to stay elevated and above trend.